community. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Macleod, MPP.
Well, thank you, Fred and Denise, and thank you, Private Reid. It goes without saying a woman of Scottish heritage likes to hear the bagpipes first thing in the morning, midday, afternoon, and of course in the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really profoundly an exciting honor for me to be here today. Got to say first, what about those Senators last night? That was incredible. I got to watch the game, and it was incredibly wonderful. Joe and Victoria can't be here. They'll be here a little bit later. She's got a hockey game. I am missing it. I am one of the coaches, but you are also remarkable. I wanted to be here with you. But I wanted to answer a question. Why this award? Why now? Well, for two reasons. One is this is Canada's 150th birthday, and this city has done a remarkable job of carrying that on throughout the entire year. And I think it was really important for us to come together multiple times to celebrate the greatest nation on the planet. I also wanted to do it because this will be the last event that I host of this nature for my riding of Nepean Carleton. As many of you know, I will lose the Carleton part in June, and I wanted just to, for one last time, have that wonderful rural-urban intersection that I've been so grateful to represent and humbled to represent for the past 12 years. And I'm also humbled by the list. A lot of people ask me, did I give you this award? Well, I certainly agree with every single recipient, but you were nominated by one of your city councilors, by an organization that you represent, by your schools. You were represented by your neighbors. And I must say, before I get into the meat of my remarks, a couple people said, well, I'm unworthy. And I thought, no, you're not. Every single one of you has contributed in a way that has made our community a better place. No matter what size of that contribution, it was meaningful. And it's important for us to recognize that, especially in this milestone year. Margaret Mead once said, "Never doubt a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that's the only thing that ever has." And today we are going to acknowledge a group of committed citizens whose actions and deeds have inspired our community. Consider this. This is a list of recipients that includes a world-renowned cancer researcher. It also includes several cancer survivors who separately, and likely unknowingly, raised millions of dollars to fund his cancer research. It is a list that includes organ donation advocates who have brought thousands of individual donors onto the list in the city of Ottawa. While at the same time, this list includes parents who tragically lost their children and had to make that tough decision to donate their child's organs. It includes many former soldiers, including one from World War II, when Canada fought and defeated the tyranny that was the Nazi regime in order for us to end the Holocaust. But we also have on this list one of Ottawa's most respected Jewish faith leaders in Ottawa. So I want to say Happy Hanukkah, Rabbi. May we always see light triumph over evil. This list includes Olympians, world champions, Grey Cup winners, and a few Hall of Famers in a variety of sports who've either marshaled a parade or held one in their honor. But this is also a list of men and women who have literally made sure parades went on in snow, sleet, hail, rain, and in heat waves. In Barrhaven, Manotick, Osgood, Metcalfe, and in Richmond, to the delight of thousands of young people over many years. This list includes farmers, people who work the land and who are stewards of the land, and they lead in agricultural advancement. But this list also includes people who organize food cupboards, women's shelters, and community housing. I want you to think about this. In one case, we have a recipient here today who has delivered the milk program at her school for 55 years straight. There's also a couple politicians on this list, and I want to acknowledge every one of my city councillors who have decided to bestow this award. I know what it's like to be on the front lines and having the good days and having the bad days being away from your family. And so to Rick Shirelli, Keith Eglai, Scott Moffat, we've got George DeRuse, and we have Michael Kakish here, and Jan Harder will be joining us later. They all deserve a round of applause for doing the wonderful work they do in their community and the sacrifice that they make. But I've also been able to bestow some recipients, my Green Party opponent, a former NDP opponent of mine and a current NDP, as well as the president of the local Liberal Association. And I do that because they aren't just involved in politics. Like me, their community efforts are worthy, and I wanted to acknowledge them. And I always want to remind people who run for political office or who are in office, a few words after your name don't really matter as if your actions don't match what your fellow neighbors expect. So to those in the name of service put forward their name, thank you very much. So this list is, of course, a list of very caring and committed Canadians, all equally deserving of this recognition, no matter how differently each one of you have inspired me and your neighbors. Sir John A. Macdonald once said, "Let us be English, let us be French, but above all, let us be Canadian." And he said that 150 years ago. That message, while a bit outdated given our diversity that we're going to see here today, it still rings true, that no matter what our background or where we came from, let us all be united in our patriotism for our country. Today we can update Sir John A.'s creed. If you even look around here, let us be Canadian, whether we are Indigenous, English, French, whether we've come from the United States, from India, from China, whether we are of Scotch descent, African ancestry, Dutch, German, Bosnian, Pakistani, or from wherever else you have come from. It was another great Prime Minister, Sir Wilfrid Laurier, who said of a growing Canada, "Let them look to the past. Let them also look to the future. Let them look to the land of their ancestors." And then he said this, "But let them also look to the land of their children." It's in that spirit that we assemble today on the land of our Indigenous and our children as Canadians in our 150th year. Today we honor a man who earned the Order of Canada. At the same time, we are also honoring deserving new Canadians who have helped us advance in medicine, the arts, and in enterprise. We will honor citizens who have kept rural fairs alive and thriving in rural Ottawa for 160 and 170 years respectively. Older than Confederation are both the Metcalfe and the Richmond fairs. We're also going to honor a new fair that started after we lost the exhibition and the Gloucester Fair, the capital fair. No easy streak. And in addition to that, we're going to honor those who have created cultural fairs and celebrations in our Indo-Canadian and Chinese-Canadian communities. To me, that is the beauty of an evolving and growing country, and I can't help but think that Sirs Macdonald and Laurier likely had that vision too. But what does it mean to be a Canadian? I've contemplated that a lot lately. Those of you who know me know that the state of the world bothers me. So I've spoken a lot with our Christian, Muslim, and Jewish spiritual leaders in recent years in light of some tragic acts, violence, bigotry, terrorism, and the volatility that we mostly see elsewhere in the world, but sadly sometimes happens here on our land as well. Some of that have the inclination to isolate themselves or to inflame tensions, and I really find that to be irresponsible. So in my view, that's not the Canadian way, and I think it's important that I raise that. But what is the Canadian way? And I think we have to have that discussion in our 150th year. Is it our free health care? Some might say it's our penchant for hockey or our love or dread of winter, whichever it may be. Is it a Tim's coffee, the mountains of BC, the Stampede? Is it the grains from the prairie? Is it the Canadian Shield? Is it the fact that we're bilingual? Is it the fact that we love the Maritimes? Or at least I do. And Is it because we have a coast to coast to coast, eh? Or my favorite, that Santa Claus has his postal code in Canada. But what if I said that though all of that contributes to our sense of pride, it really isn't the essence of who it is and what it means to be Canadian? And so I'm going to close with this. For that, I'm going to recall the words of Sir John George Diefenbaker, the late Prime Minister, who described being Canadian this way. I am a Canadian, free to speak without fear, free to worship in my own way, free to stand for what I think is right, free to oppose what I do not believe, and free to choose those who shall govern my country. Every recipient we are honoring today in their way embodies that sense of what it means to be a Canadian. Every recipient has contributed to our city by inspiring us to do a little bit better and a little bit more. And I want to thank them for their service to our city and to our country, and congratulating them for being selected by their community and by their peers. So with that, the roll call will begin, but I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and best wishes for Canada's 151st birthday in 2018. So may God bless Canada and God save our Queen. Thank you all very much.